Hey guys, it's Paradise, and the new patch for Elden Ring has just dropped, version 1.12.3, with a bunch of changes, balance fixes, and nerfs to a couple things. But some of these changes might surprise you, as some things appear to not be nerfed yet. So let's go over the patch notes and the most important things that you're going to want to know, as there's a few interesting things here. To some people's surprise, certain stuff's been nerfed. To other people's surprise, certain stuff hasn't been nerfed, which is what I find most interesting about all of this. So drop a like and comment your thoughts on this patch. But let's get into it with some of the patch actual note changes. So the very first thing that's basically mentioned, I'm going to go through the key highlights here, is that the Carrion Sorcery Sword, which many of you may know is both a sword and a staff at the same time. It allows you to spellcast, but it didn't have that proper scaling for sorceries. Now they've raised the intelligence scaling of it and slightly decreased the base damage of it, which is an interesting one. So we will do a follow-up video with a bunch of testing and builds and see what exactly has changed between a lot of these things. But just know that the Carrion Sorcery Sword has effectively been buffed and nerfed. And then we have a bunch of changes for some of the Smith script stuff, and there's actually more Smith script changes that lower down in the patch notes as well. So for the actual dagger and the circ, the throwing range has been increased. But further down in the patch notes, you can see here it says fixed a bug that caused some affinities for the following weapons to be higher than intended. So basically, pretty much all the Smith script weapons, the Golem Fist and the Smith script Shield, have all had their affinities tweaked because some of them were outperforming the others, which means it's effectively a nerf if you were using... I'm assuming it was the Holy Affinity because that worked really well with them, but obviously we'll have to do some further testing and actually find out exactly. Interestingly, if you've been struggling against the Golden Hippo or Commander Gaius, they've changed the placement of the boss at the start of the fight to be the same as the first time that you encounter them. So a slight tweak to those two bosses. Then we get to perhaps the thing everyone was expecting. I don't think this is a big surprise. At least tell me in the comments if it was a surprise to you. They fixed the rolling spark skill with the perfume bottles. This isn't even the only change to the perfume bottles, but the rolling sparks bug fix causing more damage than expected. So we can pretty much expect the slightly overpowered interaction of the rolling sparks with the perfume bottles to have been fixed. And furthermore, the lightning perfume bottle and the frenzy flame perfume bottle have fixed a bug where it says they would deal double damage under certain conditions. So I'm sure these things all stacked together to make those weapons so insane, but we can kind of expect the perfume bottles have kind of been nerfed now. We'll do a before and after so we can see the exact differences. On top of this, they've fixed a bug where some special effects of a right-handed weapon could be applied to the following weapon skills, the Lord of Frenzy Flame and the Discus Hurl. But another sad change. If you guys saw the thrusting shield build we put out the other day, well, the successful guarding while attacking and using the thrusting shield weapon type would consume less stamina than intended, bug fixed. So basically, while you were blocking with the shield and spamming attack, you would take very little stamina damage, so you could basically tank everything and continuously hit back, and it seems like this may have been fixed now, but we will do the full testing to see exactly if it's still usable or not. On top of this, you can see here, fixed a bug that prevented players from cancelling the attack recovery of two-handed strong attacks by rolling for certain weapons by the Black Hand Blade weapon types. So there's a few specific PvP changes in here that you will see as we go through. But for another big PvE change, the Bloodfiends arm weapon, that big slamming weapon that we all loved for that crazy bleed on the strong charged attack. Well, you can see here, fixed a bug where the arcane scaling of it was higher than intended when setting an affinity. The status buildup of the heavy weapon was also reduced. So not only have they essentially reduced the scaling, they've also reduced the bleed buildup, which is what made this weapon so good. So that seems like a heavy nerf to the Bloodfiends arm as well. They've also fixed a bug with the faith scaling of the gazing finger weapon. So again, there's a lot of things that have been targeted here. The Fire Knight's Greatsword fixed a bug where the damage animation of some attacks against players was different than expected. More testing needed, but I'm assuming this might be the true R1 two-hit combo may have been nerfed there as well. And again here, fixed a bug where the attack affinity of some attacks of the Fire Knight's Greatsword were different than expected. So it's a potential that the Fire Knight's Greatsword is nerfed, but we will do the testing to find out exactly, because this was a really good PvE weapon as well as a PvP weapon, so we'll have to find out exactly A slight nerf to the Golden Hippo again as well, where it says the unblockable bite attack would connect with players more easily than intended. So if you've been struggling with that Golden Hippo and the bite attack, they've made that a little bit easier as well. It also says several other performance improvements and bug fixes, which is obviously always nice to hear. You can actually see some of these unstable performance fixes, so hopefully your frame rates will be better, especially in PC. There's one PS5 update here and 3 different PC updates to do with ray tracing and a few other things. So hopefully the frame rate is a bit higher on PC specifically, but also PlayStation 5. But to everyone's surprise, it doesn't seem the Maternal Staff or the Impenetrable Thorns skill or sorcery has been mentioned here, so that overpowered bleed build just might still be viable, as well as the Spinning Gravity Thrust bleed build seems to also have not been mentioned here amongst a few others. So major things nerfed, but other things not nerfed or not mentioned, at least in the patch notes. But what do you think of these patch notes? Were you expecting these nerfs and changes? How do you feel about them? Tell us down below. Drop a like if you enjoy our Elden Ring coverage, and subscribe because we're going to have more coverage on this and testing coming your way so you can know exactly what is best after this patch.